It is absolutely an unbreakable rule that you must plant before you pull the disc. It must go in order. Foot first, fingertips last. It has to be in that order or else the whip will not crack. That's why you must plant that foot first. All right, this foot must hit the ground before this part of the whip begins moving forward, before any other part of your body begins moving forward. Your feet are gonna hit the ground. When they hit the ground, it's gonna happen before your hips begin to rotate. Before your hips, or after your hips rotate, the shoulder, followed by the elbow, followed by the wrist.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've been doing a lot of thinking since my last video on throwing and plans and goals and things like that. The one that was titled Road to 800, where I made a goal to get within the 800 club, within the PDGA ratings, and kind of move more firmly into the recreational or MA3 zone, basically that tier for playing tournaments and just trying to get a better rating than my current 742 or so rating. So I've been watching a lot of videos recently, going back to watching my Scott Stokely live streams that I had been a part of for the Scott Stokely method, watching some overthrow disc golf, trebuchet disc golf, which you should subscribe to that channel if you haven't already, because he's got a lot of really interesting videos on form reviews and things of that nature, and I like the way he thinks. The same can be said for Discs MD. I like the way he thinks as well. That gentleman and I have had some communication in the comment sections of each other's videos on various topics, and one of the things that he's been focusing on recently has been timing, and I've been having a lot of issues with timing, and until relatively recently I didn't fully understand that my biggest problem was actually timing. Not that I don't have other significant problems, particularly swing path issues, but timing is a big aspect of it. There's body positioning, where you're supposed to be at certain times, and if you don't sync everything up properly, you lose a lot of energy and power and force that would otherwise go onto the disc. So in my opinion, there's two discrete theories within form training. There's the more broad form theory, which is the overall movements of the entire body, including what your arm does within the swing, and a more specific aspect that's not related to footwork as much, but it's the actual swing theory. What your disc does in your hand, what your arm does when you're actually throwing, the actual swing. And in my opinion, swing theory is a combination of the backswing and the swing, and how to efficiently put your arm in a good position to where when you're at peak reach back or extension or reach out or whatever you want to call it, the peak of your backswing as it converts into a forward swing or a swing, the timing and body positioning becomes more important the closer you get to the power pocket. And once you get to the power pocket, you basically have to operate the same way. There's less wiggle room from this point onward. Further back towards what you're doing with the cross step and other things in the earlier part of the backswing, like if you take a look at, you do the backswing and then you swing. Well, there's a lot of differentiation on what people are doing when they're doing this extension here. Some people never fully extend. They have the arm out like that. Some people extend backwards like this. Some people extend outward like that. But the closer you get towards the power pocket when you're actually executing the swing, the closer everything looks to about right here, that all the professionals and the more advanced, more refined throwers get, to where when they're actually releasing the disc, it's very, very similar. Others have pointed this out, but it's one of those things where I've had to try to focus on body positioning at different points of time, and furthermore the timing of everything, so everything comes together. So that's why I'm spending a little more time recently, and I'm actually making this video because I want to dive deeper in this topic. I'm basically breaking my promise to myself to make videos about form, because I think it's important to point out that I'm actually making breakthroughs here, and that's the purpose of this channel. Okay, I want to further elaborate on a point that I touched on earlier, specifically form work. The two discrete theories are basically, swing theory and also, I think, movement theory, particularly what you're doing with your body. But all that comes with form work, and form work is the synthesis of body positioning and timing to create the most efficient and effective throw for the type of throw you're doing. It doesn't have to be backhand, but within disc golf, backhand is by far the most interested topic among disc golfers. I mean, a lot of people are interested in forehands, utility throws, like overhand, thumbers, all that kind of stuff. Scoobers, all that jazz. Putting is its own world, but within the world of throwing in and of itself for distance, beyond putting distance, backhand is by far the largest sink of time that everyone is spending. Okay, so this video will not be focused on swing theory. I'm going to be focusing more on basic body positioning theory, the second aspect of form work. And the reason I'm doing this is I think the swing issues will fix themselves in large part if we position the rest of the body correctly. That doesn't mean we don't have to tweak the actual swing. And I actually like the way Josh White at Overthrow talks about. He likes to teach people first just the basic swing, and then he likes to get them to start on the movement. For me here, I'm not focused on that as much because I know what my issues are, and I've decided to table them because I think that a lot of what I'm doing in my body positioning and footwork leads to this issue, and I think this is more correctable once I get that taken care of. So I'm here located on the tee pad of a 400+ foot hole, and the basket is straight ahead and off to the right a little bit. The goal is to completely ignore that. For all intents and purposes, this is a field with a concrete tee that happens to be on a disc golf course with somewhat manicured grass. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to kind of position myself. Where do I want to throw? Well, me and the tee pad agree that we're going to go that direction. And so Zoe Andyke likes to do this a lot before she throws, and I like this. It tells you kind of where you're essentially going to reach back, essentially, or extend, so forth, and essentially what direction you're going to release. And in this case, I'm going to try for essentially a flat throw, maybe slight hyzer, given that I'm throwing putters. So first I'll start off here, and I want to recognize a few things. One, my shoulders are perpendicular to the release point. They're parallel with the direction, the line, essentially, that you want to essentially follow. The disc isn't going to exactly follow that line, but you have a general directionality that you want to go, okay? You have your shoulders, you have your hips, you have your legs. And for the purpose of these throws, I'm simply going to have the feet at this position right now. And so the whole point of doing the backswing is essentially moving the disc back here-ish, and then when you get to a certain point, you then bring it forward and you throw. That's how you throw. You just throw. So when you do that, the rest of your body does stuff. You're not just using your arms to move it back here. Your shoulders are going back. They're rotating. Your hips are rotating. And to some extent, you could even change the positioning of your feet to assist this. But what I'm focusing on here is basically just the basic understanding that I want to throw that direction. One thing that a lot of people focus on is, what is this upper arm doing relative to the body during the throw? You basically bring it out here and then there. A lot of people like me, we just figured we would just bring it back and then throw. And that's how we learned. And that's how we hurt ourselves. So something that a lot of people have figured out over the last decade in particular, and put it online, is that essentially this upper arm remains at a 90-degree angle from your shoulders. Your shoulders are essentially pointed like this, and then the arm is essentially pointed like this. And when you extend backwards, reach back, reach out, whatever you want to say, essentially your shoulders end up in a 90-degree position from the original position, but this upper arm should remain at that essential relative position to the shoulders. And then when you backswing, almost to this point, it remains at a 90-degree angle. And I've studied a lot of pros in terms of what they're doing, specifically with regard to these levers and joints, is they'll basically keep that 90-degree position. They tend to come out a little bit, and then when they get to the power pocket, that's when there's a greater chance that this upper arm may come out more. But in particular, up to the point where they're actually releasing the disc, it may still remain at 90 degrees most of the time. But once that disc releases from the hand to the 10 to 11 o'clock position, this arm will then follow through and completely break that 90-degree angle. And so, but generally speaking, you can count on that 90-degree angle relative all the way back here, where generally speaking, most of the pros have their shoulders about at this 90-degree angle. Their hips are at roughly a 45-degree angle. And here's something else that's interesting. At the point where your hips are getting to about 45 degrees and your shoulders are turning more, this is what a lot of people call the coil. Coiling isn't merely the hips and the shoulders perfectly like this and doing this throughout the throw. That doesn't happen, not really. The coil is that shoulder breaking that plane and turning, rotating more than the hips, and you start building that, and then as you throw, you start going in reverse. The shoulder starts to rotate faster than the hips relatively, and by the time you're back in the power pocket, essentially the shoulders and the hips are back in line, and then you're throwing out like that. And so that's another interesting aspect that's very common with a lot of the pros. So the point of all this isn't to have you think about all this when you're actually throwing. This is the kind of stuff that you work out when you're building drills, when you're doing drills. You want to understand the different theories as to why you're doing different things. And the reason I'm pointing all this out is I've gotten to a point where I understand generally what I'm supposed to be doing, and what I'm trying to do from now on is to actually execute on those things. I keep having blind spots because I have so many things that are broken with my form, that I focus on some things over here and other things I forget about or lose track of, and they get messed up. And then I go, oh wow, I need to fix these things over here, and then this never got fixed. And so I'm at the point where I'm changing things up with everything in better context. I'm now going to focus on body positioning from here on out, to where I can get the body doing what it needs to do to build new form, build newer, better techniques, better form, basically. Now let's talk about footwork. A lot of the pros tend to use, and a lot of people in general, tend to have their feet parallel to each other when they're doing like an approach shot. They're doing like 100 feet away. I've even seen some people kind of step out a little bit, but like their shoulders aren't necessarily trying to coil back all the way. And they try to maintain sight of what they're throwing to, and then they try to release like that. I think that's completely acceptable. The closer you get to higher power throw, the more these feet tend to be staggered in the movement, particularly because of the cross step. Because when you do a cross step, typically it's 4 steps, but you have, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've seen some pros like Will Schustrick come in a little bit more. I've seen some like Calvin and others pull it out a little bit more. Joel Freeman is pretty eccentric in terms of, relative to other pros, how much he brings it out. And they're all basically throwing effortlessly at a distance that I'll never actually attain. So my goal is to focus on a smooth, efficient walk up. And the end goal is to have essentially this 45, 90, 135, 90, that kind of deal. And I don't personally have issues that require me to bring this out a lot, and I'm personally fine with essentially having feet that are roughly parallel. The thing that I'm going to be doing here today is I'm going to start with essentially with a standstill throw, and the focus is on efficiency and effectiveness and more proper generation of force without a lot of effort. I'd rather be known as smooth than using a lot of power. So that's what I'm going to be doing first. Let me warm up, and then I'll go ahead and start getting some throws in. Okay, this is what Corey Ellis does, and I really like it a lot because I think it's really good for helping with timing. So you basically take one step, cross step, and as you're cross stepping, you're moving this out. Oh, that's what I was doing wrong. So what I was doing was, instead of this, that, and then that's why I was firing early. I don't think I had good form on that, but I kind of like the timing, how that felt. Again, I'm more focused on timing, but secondarily I'm focused on body positioning. So let me see if I can improve body positioning. That was bad. Now if I can try to hyzer. I think I did the same thing where I moved the arm out. So there we go. That at least felt good, even though I threw that really high up into the air. There we go. Love it. Okay, I took a little bit of a break, and now I'm going to try to do another set of throws using a 3-step cross step. Again, trying to keep in mind the timing and the throw. That was really good. A little high, but I'm not terribly focused on accuracy, only that my body essentially does what it needs to do. And I'm hoping that I'm actually getting that heel and then throwing. I may exaggerate that on this throw just to see. There we go. I did the accidental anhyzer thing, but I at least got the timing down. That felt really good. All right, I'm gonna lower the disc a little bit more. Focus more on that kind of throw. There we go. That was great. That went way beyond that flag. Might be like 230. Just fantastic for a putter for me. Again, focus on planting, then throwing. And I notice some pros like Drew Gibson, they'll plant, then they'll get that left arm in there, and then they'll throw. Not focused about on that right now. Just focus on the throw. Plant, then throw. That had very little snap on it, but it came out basically as I wanted. Okay, with the exception of that one that I skied really high, that one landed about 170 feet. The other 4 landed, I kid you not, 210, 220, 230, 240 with that one that I really crushed. 240 feet. 240 feet is now officially the farthest I've ever thrown a putter. I've thrown putters like 220, 225 before, but I'm gonna have to study that specific example and see how that works. I'm gonna do one last set of throws, and then I'm gonna call it. I'm going to throw more normal. Wow. Ignore the accidental anhyzer. The timing felt good on that. And ultimately, that's what I'm fixing today. I'm not fixing the swing issues as much as I am fixing body positioning issues. Now, if I can focus more on hyzer and do the same thing, lean a little bit more at my torso. That felt really good. That's crush town. I don't know if that's 240, but that's pretty good for me. Again, more of a traditional type of 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. There we go. See, I waited and then threw. So that is a key. And the interesting thing about that one, it basically just came out of my hands. There wasn't like a snap per se, like the explosion of the hands, but it felt like really good. Like it didn't hurt, to be clear. I could feel it leaving my hand, it didn't hurt. That's cool. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Generally speaking, I like that throw. So again, plant, then throw. That's the big timing issue I fixed today. I definitely had a breakthrough no matter how badly this next throw goes. There we go. Ooh, crushed. let's see if I beat that record. All right, so that was pretty impressive. I didn't get that last one to 240. I had 3 of them that were right around 220. That last one that I threw was just a little bit further out than the others. There were 3 at 220, one a little bit off to the right at 210, and the other one was a little short. I don't remember exactly where it was. But that said, I feel like I have made a breakthrough. Getting that timing down of planting and then throwing. I just got to work on burning in the memory of doing that consistently, because what I've been doing is getting for that full extension before I even touch the ground. And once I start to touch the ground, I'm actually already starting throwing, and then I do the heel thing, and then I'm losing too much power. So now if I can just focus on timing, get that down to where I plant the heel, then throw, as Scott Stokely and many others, Overthrow, a lot of others have said online, I think I'm going to win this battle. So that's my update. Terribly sorry for this long video, but I wanted to tell you guys everything I've been working on and what I've learned. I've been doing a lot more research and practice and watching videos, rewatching videos, and getting a beat on what I need to do. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you like it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, as hopefully some more noob gains are coming. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. There we go. That was great. That went way beyond that flag.